Coming up, what an excellent day for not remembering any of it. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 125 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Sharon saying, "Better hurry."
And it ends with Regan catching sight of Father Dyer's collar.
Yes, folks, Mom says she doesn't remember any of it, and we'll get to whether or not we think that's true. Regardless, something is being recalled here when she catches sight of Father Dyer's collar. But before we get to that, let us open our books. It's time for a reading from the Book of Blatty. Epilogue. Late June sunlight streamed through the window of Chris's bedroom. She folded a blouse on top of the contents of the suitcase and closed the lid. She moved quickly toward the door. "Okay, that's all of it," she said to Carl, and as the Swiss came forward to lock the suitcase, she went out into the hall and toward Regan's bedroom. "Hey, Rags, you coming?" It was now 6 weeks since the deaths of the priests, since the shock, since the closed investigation by Kinderman. And still there were no answers, only haunting speculation and frequent awakenings from sleep in tears. The death of Marin had been caused by coronary artery disease. But as for Karis, baffling, Kinderman had wheezed. Not the girl, he decided. She'd been firmly secured by restraining straps and sheet. Obviously, Karis had ripped away the shutters, leaping through the window to deliberate death. But why? Fear? An attempt to escape something horrible? No, Kinderman had quickly ruled it out. Had he wished to escape, he could have gone out the door. Nor was Karis in any case a man who would run. But then why the fatal leap? For Kinderman, the answer began to take shape in a statement by Dyer, making mention of Karis's emotional conflicts, his guilt about his mother, her death, his problem of faith. And when Kinderman added to these the continuous lack of sleep for several days, the concern and the guilt over Regan's imminent death, the demonic attacks in the form of his mother, and finally the shock of Marin's death, he sadly concluded that Karis's mind had snapped, had been shattered by the burden of guilt he could no longer endure. Moreover, in investigating Denning's death, the detective had learned from his readings on possession that exorcists frequently become possessed, and through just such causes as might here have been present. Strong feelings of guilt and the need to be punished added to the power of autosuggestion. Karis had been ripe. And the sounds of struggle, the priest's altered voice heard by both Chris and Sharon, these seemed to lend weight to the detective's hypothesis. But Dyer had refused to accept it. Again and again, he returned to the house during Regan's convalescence to talk to Chris. He had asked over and over again if Regan was now able to recall what had happened in the bedroom that night. But the answer was always a headshake or a no. And finally, the case was closed. Now Chris poked her head into Regan's bedroom, saw her daughter with 2 stuffed animals in her clutch, staring down with a child's discontent at the packed, open suitcase on her bed. "How are you coming with your packing, honey?" Chris asked her. Regan looked up, a little wan, a little gaunt, a little dark beneath the eyes. "There's not enough room in this thing," she frowned. "Well, you can't take it all now, sweetheart. Leave it, and Willie will bring the rest. Come on, baby. Hurry or we'll miss our plane." They were catching an afternoon flight to Los Angeles, leaving Sharon and the Engstroms to close up the house. Then Carl would drive the Jaguar cross-country back home. "Oh, okay," Regan pouted mildly. "That's my baby." Chris left her and went quickly down the stairs. As she got to the bottom, the door chimes rang. She opened the door. "Hi, Chris." It was Father Dyer. "Just came by to say so long." "Oh, I'm glad. I was just going to call you myself." She stepped back. "Come on in." "No, that's all right, Chris. I know you're in a hurry." She took his hand and drew him in. "Oh, please, I was just about to have a cup of coffee." "Well, if you're sure." She was. They went to the kitchen, where they sat at the table, drank coffee, spoke pleasantries, while Sharon and the Engstroms bustled back and forth. Chris spoke of Marin, how awed and surprised she had been at seeing the notables and foreign dignitaries at his funeral. Then they were silent together while Dyer stared down into his cup, into sadness. Chris read his thought. "She still can't remember," she said gently. "I'm sorry." Still downcast, the Jesuit nodded. Chris glanced to her breakfast plate. Too nervous and excited, she hadn't eaten. The rose was still there. She picked it up and pensively twisted it, rolling it back and forth by the stem. And he never even knew her, she murmured absently. Then she held the rose still and flicked her eyes at Dyer, saw him staring. What do you think really happened? He asked softly. As a non-believer, do you think she was really possessed? She pondered, looking down, still toying with the rose. Well, like you say, as far as God goes, I am a non-believer. Still am. But when it comes to the devil, well, that's something else. I could buy that. I do, in fact. I do. And it isn't just what happened to Rags. I mean, generally, she shrugged. You come to God and you have to figure if there is one, then he must need 1,000,000 years sleep every night or else he tends to get irritable. Know what I mean? He never talks. But the devil keeps advertising, Father. The devil does lots of commercials. For a moment, Dyer looked at her and then said quietly, but if all of the evil in the world makes you think that there might be a devil, then how do you account for all the good in the world? The thought made her squint as she held his gaze. Then she dropped her eyes. Yeah, she murmured softly. That's a point. The sadness and shock of Karis's death settled down on her mood like a melancholy haze. Yet through it, she saw a speckled point of light and tried to focus on it, remembering Dyer as he had walked her to her car at the cemetery after Karis's funeral. Can you come to the house for a while? She'd asked him. Oh, I'd like to, but I can't miss the feast, he replied. She looked puzzled. When a Jesuit dies, he explained to her, we always have a feast. For him, it's a beginning, so we celebrate. Chris had another thought. You said Father Karras had a problem with his faith. Dyer nodded. I can't believe that, she said. I've never seen such faith in my life. Taxi here, madam. Chris came out of her reverie. Thanks, Carl. Okay. She and Dyer stood up. No, you stay, Father. I'll be right down. I'm just going to go upstairs and get Rags. He nodded absently and watched her leave. He was thinking of Karras's puzzling last words, the shouts overheard from below before his death. There was something there. What was it? He didn't know. Both Chris's and Sharon's recollections had been vague, but now he thought once again of that mysterious look of joy in Karras's eyes, and something else, suddenly remembered. A deep and fiercely shining glint of triumph? He wasn't sure. Yet, oddly, he felt lighter. Why lighter, he wondered. He walked to the entry hall, hands in his pockets. He leaned against the doorway and watched as Carl helped stow luggage in the cab. It was humid and hot, and he wiped his brow. Then he turned at the sound of footsteps coming down the staircase. Chris and Reagan, hand in hand. They came toward him. Chris kissed his cheek. Then she held her hand to it, probing his eyes tenderly. It's all right, he said. Then he shrugged. I've got a feeling it's all right. She nodded. I'll call you from L.A. Take care. Yeah, so what do we think of this extra stuff? Maybe a little bit too much for the movie, but it feels like a nice winding down, a nice closing of all the open doors, a closing of the case by Kinderman. Everyone's on the mend, and Blatty allows his characters to come back together and talk about what happened. And I realized that's something we rarely get to see in books or in movies, maybe because it's boring and we're more interested in the pain and less in the healing. But I appreciated this little scene with Chris and Dyer talking it out. Yeah, it feels a little saccharine, but it also feels real. I feel like there's a bond created between people who lost the same person. You know, even between like total strangers, and getting to talk about that person again with somebody else who knew them. I feel like that is a type of healing, and I appreciate that Blatty did this for us as well. We get to sort of be with Dimmy a little bit more, like talk about the feast and and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, that's what a person is, I suppose, is a series of relationships, right? That's what a person's life is, not just, things they did necessarily, which is important, when you go to funerals, like their accomplishments is good, but that's what's nice about going to a funeral with someone who had you had a relationship with is you get to see other people's relationships
Yeah.
and how they describe that person, and like people from their childhood, if you knew somebody from when they're older, and now what people are like when they're younger, right? So Chris and Dyer know each other a little bit, right?
Right. Yeah.
But now they have this deeper bond that,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who's telling it, whether it's Blatty in the book and the screenplay or Friedkin as the director,
Right.
they have very different responses to. Now all of a
Yes.
sudden we're here with each other, and the thing that we know each other much more than we did before because we had this shared loss, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Mm.
this extra stuff that you have in the epilogue is in the draft of the screenplay that we have. That's pretty early on in
Oh.
production. Um, but yeah, it's not quite as languorous, like, so it's not like, hey, come in for the coffee and let's sit here and
Right.
watch the peasants clean up for us. Did you get that? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's have coffee, and then the Angstroms are going back and forth doing
Right.
Lord knows what they're doing.
Everything. They're doing everything.
Yeah. So we have a more cinematic version of the screenplay where it still happens in the front door, and it's just, hey, I just came by to have a conversation. The conversation can only last like 2 minutes, right?
Right.
We don't
Yeah.
have them, spending all morning together.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the movie we have it even shorter, and with some subtext that I think is I'm trying not to say better or worse, but yeah, that is more Friedkin-y at the very least.
Yeah, definitely more freaking-y.
Yeah.
It's got the freaking flavor in there. Yeah,
Right, exactly.
yeah, and I'm not saying like better or worse. I'm just saying, yeah,
Right.
it's distinctly, Friedkin. Right?
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's the difference between Cocoa Puffs and Captain Crunch.
One cuts the roof of your mouth,
And the other one cuts the roof of your mouth, but in chocolate flavor.
Did we talk about Cocoa Puffs before? What did they?
No, we've never talked about. Oh no, the one thing I recently listened to one of our early episodes, and you had made a very. Oh no! Oh, it was me.
No, what?
Oh, I was just about to like congratulate you on a really funny joke, and now.
And then you realize that you owe me nothing.
But no, we were talking about the dream sequence where the medallion is falling in front of that blurry carpet,
right?
And we said, it looks like there's a face in the carpet, and you had said something about, it's like, oh yeah, it looks like a demon face that's about to eat up that. It's like, nah, give me that medallion. And I had said, and I think this is hilarious. I was about to congratulate you, but this was me. I said in a demon-y voice, I said, "I'm cuckoo for medallions."
Good.
So long story short, I did a good joke over a year ago.
Oh, that's very funny.
Or at least one that I like.
Yeah, at least you and I like our show and we listen to it for fun.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I don't remember writing a lot of our, because I'm an improv comedian, or I want to be, and like you don't get to remember. You just build all that adrenaline when you're doing a show, and you don't often remember what you even said, and you come off stage and people are like, "That was such a funny joke," and you have no recollection. But
oh no, yeah, the funniest stuff, at least to me, from boy, we are just patting our own backs.
But go on. let's at least pat our own backs to completion.
Yeah. Don't want to half-ass it. Yeah.
We don't want to leave ourselves so unsatisfied.
No. This is. Well, howdy, folks, and welcome to the Exorcist Minute.
I really liked when Keenan and Lester said that joke that I like.
No. I like, folks. Just in case you're wondering,
there's nothing they're wondering. They want to know what happened in the movie.
But no, what I'm saying, Keenan, is the jokes that I write down in our shared script are
Yeah.
nothing compared to the ones that we come up with on the fly.
Yeah, with each other.
Yeah, all of
We build
our
on top of you.
funniest jokes. Yeah, like every joke that I remember,
Right.
none of it is in the script.
Right. You
So
complete me.
yes. So yeah. So if we somehow lose all of the episodes, if somehow Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Music and Audible and Pocket Casts and Podcast Addict and Deezer and Player FM and the Podcast Index and Podchaser and Listen Notes and Overcast and Castro and Castbox and Good Pods and TuneIn and Angahami and Fountain and Geosaven and Ghana and Pandora and iHeartRadio and YouTube and SoundCloud or wherever you listen to our podcast. If somehow all of them deleted all of our episodes and all we had was this script taking up now almost 2 entire Google Docs, because I didn't know that you could do that, but you can actually get to the limit of a Google Doc. None of our jokes would, none of our best jokes would survive because they're not in this script.
Right. Which one of those serves Africa?
Wait a minute. Actually, you know what? You know what, Keenan?
None of them serve Africa?
We missed the streams down in Africa.
Yes, I'm sure people really from Africa love that song. And love people saying that.
Yeah. But no, I'm actually on the analytics page right here.
All right, let's see. We're near the end of our show. Let's see how we're doing.
We're near the end of our show. So, okay, people like even regular listeners probably don't don't even remember. It's been we've gone on so many tangents. Like the whole Africa thing is like, when we started this podcast, we were so like happy because it gives you like this little map of all the downloads and how many downloads per country and we were looking. It was like, oh, in the United States, we got like 33,000 in the United States. Oh wow, that's really cool. And in France it's 105, and in India it's 106, and then in Africa, which is not a country, it is a continent.
It's the second most populous continent in the world.
Yes, in the entire continent of Africa, we had 1 download.
Yes. So how are we doing now?
It was so fun for us to just keep on going on that joke. And
wait, so what that means is that like one person downloaded 1 episode.
Yes.
And didn't download a second episode.
Which tells you all you need to know
about who has better taste in which continents. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Africa has all the best taste because no one's listening to our stuff there.
Right.
But yeah, and we ran with that joke until more people started downloading in Africa, and now we can't make that joke anymore.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So, I've never heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So now in Morocco, we have 1 download. But wait. Right next door, in Algeria, we have 29 downloads.
Oh my gosh, Algeria! Yeah. Viva Algeria!
Yeah, right. And then let's see, down in Ghana. You want to make a guess?
12.
5.
Oh.
But actually, Keenan, in Nigeria, we have 2.
Okay. All right. Yes. All right.
2.
So,
and in Cameroon, we have 2.
So
And then going
in
all the way down in South Africa, we have 7.
they are not fans of ours.
No. So we have, okay, so that's what? 1, okay, 29, so that's 30, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 40, 46 downloads.
All right.
So we've gone from 1 to 46.
That's pretty damn good.
An increase of
hold on, let's get out our calculators.
460%.
46 divided by 1 is 460%.
That's more than 100%.
Yeah.
That's like over 4 times that.
All right, so whoever in Africa has been telling their friends, we very much appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, Keenan, get ready.
Uh-huh.
In Russia, 26.
In all of Mother Russia.
All of Mother Russia. Yeah. Oh, I think Greenland is our new one.
Oh, really?
1.
Why?
They got smart.
What have we got to do?
That one listener from Africa moved. And their download data moved with them. And now because they had to get away because Africa was falling victim to the Exorcist Minute. And they were like, I got to get out of here. Everybody's going crazy. And so they moved to Greenland, which actually has a lot of ice in it.
And other things, I'm sure. I'm sure there's other wonderful things going on in Greenland.
But no Exorcist Minute. and yeah, it's just like a nice little cottage on a hill. And, and they'll be there until some chucklehead finds our show and, it becomes, Midsommar with podcast. No, that's not even, that's like what? Sweden?
That's Sweden.
That's Sweden.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God. Let's crawl out of our own asses. This is the worst trap.
The our own asses trap.
Yes. Jesus Christ. Okay. But yeah, so as we were saying, a little bit different from the movie. This scene in the book. I do like the line that Chris says, like, what is it? The devil's always doing commercials. I kind of like that.
We don't really have that in the movie or any sort of idea like that in the movie, right? But
No,
I like that idea. Yeah, just like it's an explanation for atheism that I think makes a lot of sense, right? It's like where are the commercials for goodness in the world?
Right. Yeah. There's so few. I mean, like, yeah. Howdy says that in the book. He says to Karis, it's like, oh, have you noticed there've been so few miracles, And he's like, not our fault. We try. And then he does, the what is it? Making the desk drawer or what is it? The little side table drawer push out. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So, folks, let's get to the top of this minute. Remember, Sharon had just handed Chris the St. Joseph medallion, Damien's medallion, which she said she found in Reagan's room. We reflected before how Chris had looked at it, and we could see discomfort on her face, maybe from the traumatic memory, maybe grief, maybe because it's a religious item at all, like, like the crucifix. She's had enough of that stuff for one lifetime. But we see that she takes it from Sharon, and now, not knowing what else to say or do, Sharon makes this little, nervous laugh, and she says, better hurry. And we can see that Chris is still, dealing with the medallion. She put it away, but she's still dealing with the thought of it.
Right.
And you think that she couldn't wait to get out of here, get the hell out of Georgetown and never come back. But I love that there's still this hesitancy before recrossing the threshold
Hmm.
and returning home. Again, I don't know how to describe it. Like, she's never coming back here.
Mm-mm.
Like, I don't think she's ever coming back to Georgetown, maybe not even Washington, if she can help it.
We have no indication that she's going to finish that movie that they were in the middle of shooting either.
Right, right. No more dinners with the president.
Right.
But still, a significant chunk of their lives happened in this house, and that stays with you. That is a part of you. Have you ever returned to a place you never thought you would go back to,
Hmm.
and even if the time spent there was unpleasant, you still felt something? Actually, I wonder if it's easier
Hmm.
if it was unpleasant. I'm thinking now, I wouldn't want to go back to a place that had happy memories of somebody who's no longer with me.
Hmm.
Like I won't go back to date spots for years after a breakup.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll even stop like watching certain shows or movies, that we watched together for a long time, right?
I haven't done that with like movies and such, but yeah, like
Mm,
I there are places, yeah, when I had a very toxic relationship,
mm,
and yeah, like I have to pass by this apartment building where we used to be all the time, and
yeah,
most of the time it's fine, but then every once in a while, like, oh geez, that was this place that I
yeah,
pass by that place like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a week, but then sometimes like, oh
yeah,
geez, there's that place, yeah.
yeah. But like I wonder. So for you, it's not because I started kind of like developing this theory. Like
Hmm.
if good memories happened there, but you can't be with the person anymore, I feel like it would be painful to return to that place. But if bad memories happened there and you have risen above, you have overcome that like challenge in your life,
Hmm.
I would almost wonder if like going back there was like empowering.
Hmm.
It's like,
I wonder about
I
that.
beat it. It's like,
Yeah, I wonder about that. Yeah, for I don't have that with like movies or like, thank goodness, like Disneyland makes me think of bad memories or something like
mm,
that,
mm,
right? Where,
mm.
yeah, I could see how miserable that would be, right? Like you can't
Right.
go to the entire city of Washington. You can't go to
Yeah.
yeah, you can't watch any movies that you and Burke did together anymore.
Oh my
Like, yeah,
God.
just which
Yeah.
is a whole chunk of her life. Yeah. You can't let your daughter play with clay anymore. What are the things that
No more
yeah,
dumb
yeah,
birds. No more.
that have to change? No more dumb
Oh my
birds.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that's something I didn't even give any thought. Yeah. The movies with Burke. Like, and because that's her job. She's a movie star.
Yeah.
They're going to be
Hmm.
reminding her, hey, remember that movie you did with that director who
Right.
is also your friend who died? Let's talk about that movie you did. Oh my God.
And yeah, even though your daughter didn't kill him, your daughter kind of killed him.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Hmm.
jeez.
Yeah, I wonder about that. the no more, yeah, no more Ouija boards for sure.
Yo, yeah, yeah.
No more clay, no
Hmm.
more uh trapping the nanny in a corner and licking her ankles.
Oh, come on. We got to do that at least on Christmas. Like,
It's not Christmas without trapping the nanny
yeah,
in a corner and licking her ankles.
let's keep that tradition alive. That's why Sharon's leaving. She's like, it's like I was going to respect your cultures and your traditions over the holidays, but enough's enough.
Right. These are our traditions.
Yeah, yeah. Ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the new nanny is like, Mrs. MacNeil, I'm seeing on this invite to your party that we didn't get an astronaut. Do we have to have an astronaut? She's like, you need to respect my daughter and our culture in this house. We stay up late. We put the child to bed. The child sneaks down, looks an astronaut straight in the eye, and says, "You're gonna die up there." That's who the MacNeils are.
Yeah. But does he have to come in his astronaut suit? What do you think? What a
Yeah,
stupid question.
yeah. She throws her decanter of sherry into the fireplace, and she says it.
Right? The fire goes boom. Oh God, Chris.
She's been through a lot.
Yeah, yeah, she has.
That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yeah, speaking of that, yeah, for all of those reasons, logically, Chris should be itching to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And movie Chris is certainly more eager than book Chris.
Yeah.
But still there's this pause
Mm-hmm.
in the movie, and I like that. I like that we don't know exactly why, but we empathize with it. There's this
Yeah.
pause to, to like take that first step and
Yeah.
leave,
Yeah.
right?
We're not done yet, but ooh, I want to be done, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sharon says, "Better hurry." Chris says, "Yeah." And she gathers up the rest of her stuff and she reaches out, and it's very boss employee,
Mm-hmm.
pleasure working with you gesture, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
a warm gesture, but it's not enough for what this relationship is, for what it has become. And as soon as Chris looks up into Sharon's eyes, her professional smile disappears because she realizes she's not looking at a professional acquaintance. She's looking at a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut and we see Sharon is also trying to keep it together. They both started out trying not to look at each other. And then
Mm-hmm.
as soon as their eyes meet, it's like who are you trying to convince? The pizza?
Yeah, I wonder though on on Chris's side though, right? Like, is it like, Sharon? I tried to convince Sharon to stay. She says no, she can't. She didn't want to continue on talking about that. Like, is Sharon mad at me? I mean, does Sharon?
Hmm.
Like, I think of Sharon as part of the family, but she doesn't. Like, so should I be trying to respect Sharon's wishes and not hug her? Not say
Yeah.
goodbye, friend, goodbye, thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Like I would just be. This is the difference between Blatty and Friedkin again, right?
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
Friedkin wants these awkward, very human conversations where in Blatty's world it's like, let's all sit down and talk about this over coffee and,
Right.
and like hash
Mm-hmm.
these things out. Like in Friedkin's world, in the more dramatic, and that I mean just like dramatic media like theater and film, like
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
the more dramatic thing is that in real life we don't get to have those conversations where we clear the air, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like Blatty is like, let's all speak our hearts
Mm-hmm.
completely,
Right.
100%. It's like, oh, I wish you didn't have to go, and
Right.
I mean, they don't say it in the book, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
if Sharon were leaving in the book, it'd be
Mm-hmm.
something like, oh, I wish you didn't have to go. Yes, but my love is here,
Mm-hmm.
the horseman, and you know, something like that.
Well, here's what it says. So I know this is the last minute, but since you brought it up here, here's what
Oh,
it says in the screenplay when Chris
mm. Oh,
says,
for the previous minute, you mean? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
it's gonna miss you, says Chris. Same here, Chris. You won't change your mind? Sharon with a slight shake of head. People change. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. So we actually have that conversation. It's not as flowery as we make fun of Blatty for being or anything like
Right,
that, but
right.
but they actually have that conversation, before they leave. And in our movie, they can't have that conversation because of all
Well, I
the
mean,
trauma.
yeah. Well, she does say, like, you won't change your mind.
Yes, but she does not say people change.
People
And yeah,
change.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my God. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I can't. Right? She's not strong enough to say that. She never gets strong
Right.
enough to say that in the movie at all.
Just those two words. That just sounds
Hmm.
like that's so damning. Like what? Like how do you take that? People change. Like
like, ooh, like I can't look at you the same. I can't look at her the
I
same
don't I
way.
don't
Yeah.
like you anymore. Like I don't.
I want to, but I can't, right? Like any of
Oh.
that stuff. And so here we have all that as subtext, right? We don't need those lines. Like all this stuff that's happening even as they're hugging and saying goodbye, but
Yeah.
yeah. But
Oh
they
man.
never get to voice that, right? And it's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that, like maybe Blatty was happier. If Blatty was probably a happier person than Friedkin, he was
I
probably
think so.
he was probably a happier person than you and me, because like
Yeah.
you
Oh
and
yeah.
I, yeah, we stay up at night and be like, why didn't I tell her? And now it's too
Mm-hmm.
late to
Mm-hmm.
tell her. Like it's not her fault that I had to quit, but I couldn't look at her daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't right for me to keep trying to take care of the daughter when I was gonna always be thinking about those, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And instead, so we say, oh, so I just didn't say anything, and now
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
haunted by that forever.
Man, now I'm jealous of Blatty's life. just like the person who writes such
Hmm.
like open people just freely speaking their hearts and just giving each other these
Hmm.
warm goodbyes
Yeah.
and being so like thankful and lovey to each other.
Hmm. Right. After
Damn.
after demonic possession, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't even got to deal with demons, and I got to deal with demons.
yeah. That's right. Hmm.
Man. Oh, well, good on you, Blatty. Wait.
Yeah. And here are your tickets back. Enjoy your movie. Yeah, thanks. You enjoy your movie too.
No.
Oh God.
You find your seat and you sit down, and then the camera pans right, and it's Captain Howdy, and he's like, "Hey, you remember that time?" It's like, yes, it literally just
Yes.
happened.
I should go out and explain myself to her.
No, 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 no.
All right. She's going to think I'm a weirdo.
You're just gonna make it worse.
No. No, man.
She's already forgotten about you
I don't think she has.
because you don't matter at all.
Oh, thanks, Captain Howdy.
I'm just shutting you up because I want to watch the movie. Oh boy. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so they embrace and it's very sweet.
Mhm,
The camera moves in on them, and then Chris breaks the embrace and moves deeper into the shot, into the hall, and she calls up the stairs, Reagan, come on, honey, we have to get going. And
mhm,
she has moved away from us and made her voice louder and businesslike so
mhm,
we can't see all the feelings that she's feeling.
mhm,
But Sharon is still there in the foreground, and we see her very clearly.
mhm.
We see when Chris breaks off and moves away, it is so sad. You can see that she maybe wanted to hug a little longer,
Uh-huh.
or maybe it's just like really hitting her right now. She sort of does this thing. She touches her own jacket. It kind of looks like she's making sure everything's still in place,
Mhm.
but also just feels like an extension of the hug,
Yep.
like just something physical, like to keep it going. And then when Chris calls up to Reagan, we get this great shot of her turning to Chris's voice, but not turning around, just looking up, so we can see that she's still feeling all the feelings, and maybe Chris's brusqueness is even a little jarring to her. Like
Mhm,
we just had this emotional moment, and it's not quite over for me, but she seems to have moved on already.
mhm.
Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and this is our last shot of Sharon. So, goodbye,
Yeah.
Sharon.
Bye, Sharon. Oh, God.
Right, and it is before we were looking at this minute closely, I was going to say this
Mm.
is the equivalent of our please call me Chris moment, right? That we don't
Oh, yeah.
have it, we don't have it in dialogue, right? But they
Right.
hug, but actually it kind of is, yeah, please call me Mrs. MacNeil, because I
I
think
was just
that's,
gonna say, yeah.
yeah, because I think that's what you want me. This is what's great about about drama, right? It's like
Yeah.
I need to act like you're like we had this hug for a moment, we
Mhm.
connected, but then yeah, I need to go down the hall and pretend like we didn't bond over this, right? And like
Right.
yeah, and like because I think that's what you want, right? It's and that's what it's about. It's like I think that's what Sharon wants, because Sharon
Yeah.
is quitting and Sharon doesn't want us to be friends. She doesn't want me checking in on her and seeing how she's feeling anymore, because she doesn't
Mhm.
want to be reminded, right, of
Mhm,
this
mhm.
moment when so as I'm Chris, like I think that Sharon saved my daughter's life several times,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
Sharon's telling me she doesn't want to ever talk about that again. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, please call me Mrs. McNeil.
Oh, God.
And she goes on her.
And it's so, oh, man, this is good,
Mhm.
like movie stuff right here.
Yeah,
This is like, because you're watching both of them, and both of them wanna
yeah.
hug each other again and
They
just be like,
love
oh,
each
I'm so
other.
sorry, let's
Yeah.
let's keep in touch, let's this,
Hmm.
but they don't. And
Yeah.
you as the audience member, it's like you're just like, oh, just say something to her, come
Right.
on.
Hmm. Not even thank you or,
No.
anything, right? Because they think they're trying to protect each other more than
Yeah.
anything else. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
but
boy.
they will not see each other again.
Mm-hmm.
In Exorcist 2, Chris does not show up. She's too busy being in good movies. And and so she instead sends Sharon to come back to
Wow.
the house with Reagan. So
After Panic in Needle Park, you're gonna do Sharon like that?
no, I think Kitty Wynn is so very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were doing the Exorcist 2, and they wanted Ellen Burstyn clearly, but they couldn't
Uh-huh.
get her. She was like, hashtag not my
Yeah.
Chris. I would never ever do that. And it's a part that like
Not in a million years will I ever agree to be in another Exorcist movie.
right. But no,
You'll have to
Sharon.
gouge out my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. But like Exorcist 2 is clearly just meant to be Chris.
Hmm.
Like whatever you think of that movie, like it's written as Chris and Reagan, but because they don't have her, they've twisted this and rewritten this so that it's Sharon and
So then, logistically,
Mhm.
this doesn't make sense here because Sharon's not staying with the family, so Sharon's not staying with Reagan. So how does she end up with Reagan in number 2?
Probably several $100,000 they've paid Kitty Wynn. Like probably the biggest paycheck she ever had in her whole career. Where all of a sudden she can do that. Yeah. That's the trouble with sequels.
Somehow, Sharon returned.
Yeah, yeah. So in the new one, right? Reagan lives with Sharon in New York, and then
Yeah.
and then eventually they come back to Georgetown together.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
That's tough about sequels, right? I mean, they don't not that they
The
never
continuity
not that they
is
never work, right? But yeah, like
mm,
the original is meant to stand on its own, so everyone has these arcs, and then the sequel, you're like,
mhm,
and then they didn't have some of that arc because we need to
right.
continue on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at some point, Pazuzu needs to be laid to rest for good. But then you got Lamashtu
Yeah.
in 2023.
Let her be a movie star, right?
Yeah, right. It's her time to shine. Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys even know it was fucking Lamashtu
Oh, obviously.
in Believer?
Well, all right, come on. We're stalling because we don't want to say bye to Sharon, but we have to.
Yeah, I know. Oh. All right.
Bye, Sharon.
Bye, Sharon. Okay, so sorry, I got something in my eye. So these onions. Okay, so then we cut outside.
Mhm.
We're in the driveway looking out past the gate. We can see very clearly that we are on the corner of 36th and Prospect Street. Even more...
36, I would say.
36.
36.
36 and Prospect Street. It's a callback to a toity and toy, which is very appropriate because
here he is.
we got Mr. Toity Toy right here. We got Father Dyer standing just beyond the gate, hands in the pockets of his long black coat.
Mm-hmm.
No more Snoopy shirts.
Oh, that's true.
No more smiles. He's looking very much like Dimmy now, except maybe the hair. Beyond him, Georgetown is awake and alive and happy as if none of this ever happened.
Right.
Yeah. So from here, we get an over-the-shoulder. We're behind Dyer, watching as Chris comes out the door, sort of fussing over her coat and her bag. It's a lot of fussy motion, which I like because we can see the exact moment she spots Dyer because it all stops.
Mm-hmm.
We cut back to Dyer. It's a close-up this time. He sees her seeing him, but his expression hasn't changed. We cut to a close-up of Chris, and she's looking at him the same way she looked at that medallion. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. But yeah, again, unlike the book and Blatty's first attempt at the screenplay, like they have not made plans to talk, right? And they have have not spoken since the night Damien has died. So it's not 6 months
Mm.
later and Dyer has been checking in on her and all that stuff.
Mm.
Like
Well, I wonder. Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, look at the
Go on.
subtext though. I mean, like
Well,
she seems surprised to have seen him. She's like, oh gosh, right?
yeah,
She has
yeah.
not invited him over to have one last
No,
talk before, yeah,
no.
before they go, right? So
Yeah,
it feels to me like he has shown up and he doesn't even plan on saying anything. He just sort of feels himself drawn there, like,
yeah.
because he doesn't come and knock at the door. He's not standing
No.
at the gate to be seen. But
They weren't.
then
They weren't waiting for him,
right, so they catch eyes
and
and
the
then
kisses aren't hers and his.
right, they have not been waiting
I was
for
like,
you.
man, I was like, oh, he's not getting it. I got to do more, but I don't
I don't
remember the
remember the
song.
song.
But sorry. Like, yeah. So he
I'm
has
saying
not.
he
He
has
has not come
not
knocking.
knocked on the door. He is not
Right.
welcome. Right.
Mm-hmm.
3 is not company.
No.
Right. 2 is company. 3 is a
Right.
crowd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As
Even the like the 3-in-1 Catholic thing going. It's like, no, that's not.
right.
We got new math now.
Right. But my point is, like, I don't think he even means to be caught looking at the house. She comes out and then she's like, oh God, he's here. And he's like, oh God,
Right.
now I need to talk. And then she's now, oh God, now I need to talk. But they don't like,
Oh.
it's not like they don't like each other. They just don't
No.
want to have had this conversation.
It's such a sensitive, tender subject.
Yeah.
It's like that's a really good point. Like Blatty sees their communion, right?
Mm-hmm.
That theme, sees their coming together and talking about everything that happened as a form of healing,
Right.
and Friedkin sees it as touching a wound.
Right.
It's healing by itself, or they're hoping that it'll just heal by itself,
Right.
and every time there's a reference to it, Sharon doesn't want to be reminded of it, so she leaves. Chris is trying to hold back her emotions, and she's trying to get out without having to talk to Dyer, without having to talk to Kinderman, without
Yeah.
having to talk to any of these people, because it's just reopening the wound for her.
Yeah. Because what are they going to talk about? I mean, Dyer's not going to come and talk about his idea for a nightclub or or what
No.
he saw on TV last week. Did you notice that in the
No.
whole MacNeil house? This is how we know these are high class people. There's not a single television.
Huh.
That's movie magic for you.
Well, there you go.
Unrealistic. Yeah. Yeah, they're not
So
there
wait,
to.
Keenan, is Poltergeist white trash Exorcist? Is that the
Mhm.
is that the delineation?
Yeah, that's the arc of the movie, right? At the end, they're like,
Wow.
no TV in our motel room.
Right.
Get that out of here.
Mhm.
We're better than that now. We're going to sell our house that we bought 2 years ago in Southern California, and it's doubled in price, and we have money. Now that we have money, no television.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, they don't want to have this conversation with each other. They don't have anything pre-planned. They don't have anything that they say, hey, following up on that thing we were talking about. There's none of that in the movie.
Right.
It's just,
Right.
geez, the last time I saw you, you were giving the last rites to your dead friend.
Right.
I mean,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah, so there's not this backstory of they've seen each other at Damien's funeral. Maybe logically that's happened, but subtextually with these actors, that has not happened.
Yeah. Well, I have some thoughts. I'm gonna bring them up as we go.
Great.
But yeah, I'm gonna see if I can remember them as we go. But yeah, but no, I think you're right on the money here. This is thin ice that they're walking on, and as they get closer to each other, like the ice gets thinner, and neither of them want to fall in, like, back to those memories, back to that place of hurting. Yeah. But yeah, so we're still on the shot, the close up of Chris, and just before we cut away, she lowers her gaze, and then we're back with Dyer. We're close up on him, following him as he rounds the pillar of the gate and enters the driveway. Chris has started for the car, and at first I thought she was just gonna like jump in there to get away from him.
Mm-hmm.
But she tosses her bags in and closes the door. By now, Dyer has come around to her side of the car and is standing in front of her. She turns to him and freezes again,
Mm-hmm.
clutching her coat tightly around her. Then, after some hesitation, she approaches him. So we cut, and it's an over the shoulder, over Dyer's shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're closer, I can see two things. There might be a fondness or a warmth just behind Chris's apprehension.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in her eyes and in this hint of a smile. The second thing we see, even under her perfect makeup, is that Chris has aged.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, go back and look at her very first shot in the movie when she's on the bed reading the script and she hears the noises for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Or even better, when she's like walking home for the first time and she overhears Karis and the other priest, right? There's not a day in my life I don't feel like a fraud. Look at that shot. Look at how young she looks. And then look at this shot right here. You look at those earlier shots and you're like, oh, she must be our main character.
Mm-hmm.
You look at this one and you're like, oh, she must be the main character's mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh.
absolutely.
The way that she looks at Dyer, the way she holds herself, she has become a kindly matron who has seen a lot of shit. And so when she says what she says here, right, she says she doesn't remember any of it.
Right.
We immediately think, maybe not Chris, but you sure as hell do.
You're right. Yeah, it's and that's part of what makes me not sure if I believe her. Like it seems a little, maybe if there was this backstory like we get in the book that Father Dyer has asked and he's tried to be there as a friend, right? Like, hey, does she remember anything? Like partially because I want to know what happened to Damien, partially because I want to be there for you, right? Like, does she remember things? So we don't have that backstory here. So in the movie, it feels like she's bringing this up unprompted.
Right.
Before Reagan comes out, let me tell you this, like she doesn't remember any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it the first thing she says, and partly it is that apprehension behind everything. Like there's like it's so mixed, right? Like they, as we said, like they know Damien, they're both grieving Damien. These are the two people who have the keys to unlocking why Damien died, like what he gave his life for. Chris knows part of it, Joe knows part of it, right? They need to work together to piece the rest of it out. They're the only ones who could do that, but they can't, right? Because they're not strong enough. That's what's going on here. So it's all that mixed together, and then the first thing she says is, without being asked, like she doesn't remember any of it. Like is she protecting Reagan? Well, I mean, she is potentially protecting Reagan, right? But like, is it because Reagan does remember or not? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Does she think that Reagan does remember something, or like, why would she bring that up right away?
It's got to be protecting Reagan, right? Like if we know, like hashtag our Chris, right? Everything that she does is for Reagan. So this has got to be a like. She doesn't remember any of it. Subtext being, and if she does, she doesn't need to. Like she doesn't need to like dig all of that up again. So please don't like open this wound, right? Because like this is the Friedkin verse, and talking about trauma is hurtful rather than healing. So she's looking at him and saying like, don't tread on this territory.
Right. Yeah. Before you could even say anything.
Yeah.
Could you get a cup of coffee and me, and I'll just start telling you everything that my daughters are going through, right? Read her diary. It's fine.
Oh my God.
Don't butter me up, Father Dyer.
Right. Oh, it's so different from Book Chris. She invites him in.
Yep, absolutely. Right.
For coffee and all that.
Right. They've had they've had conversation after conversation about, if only we can get Reagan to help you and remember.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like I prefer like one or the other. It's just like these are very, very different different Chris's and Dyer's.
Mhm.
And so yeah, so we switch to over Chris's shoulder as we get Father Dyer's reaction here. He simply says, "That's good."
Mhm.
But yeah, like you're saying, Keenan, it's it's not so simple for him. I'm looking at how he stands, how he is, no longer meeting her gaze,
Mhm.
and like we're talking about, I see disappointment
Mhm. Yeah.
here, right? Um, and before reading the book and before like exploring this angle of it even further with you on the show,
Mhm.
like I always assumed that he was just coming over to check on them. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, how's Reagan? Is she recovering? Right? But no, then I realized he lost his best
Mhm.
friend in quite possibly one of the worst ways, depending on
Yeah.
how a movie Kinderman thinks. It's either murder or suicide.
Mhm.
And also to that point, right? Like even they don't know all the details. None of them saw what happened in that room. The
Mhm.
only person who could maybe give Dyer some closure is Reagan.
Right.
And for Chris to say that she doesn't remember any of it, like that's gotta make you feel something. I don't even know what. Like just
Mhm.
a feeling of loss all over again.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. And we're gonna see in a second that this isn't a case of him like coming over for the umpteenth time,
Mhm.
trying to see if Reagan remembers, right? He hasn't
Right.
he hasn't even met Reagan yet
Mhm.
in however many days or weeks later this is, right?
Right. In the book, it said 6 weeks. The movie does not feel like 6 weeks later to me. It feels like we're getting out of there immediately.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so it's not a case of Chris being like, "Look, Father, you've asked
Mm.
her enough times,"
Yeah.
but do you think it could be a case of like you've asked me enough times and the answer is still no? Like I'm not going to let you talk to her?
I'm leaning towards that. This is the first time that they have had this conversation.
Oh, okay.
I'm leaning towards that. Is this the freshest? That's the freshest, craziest take. That's
Yeah.
still within the realm of like what could happen. That they have
Mm.
not had any conversation about this
So
whatsoever.
before he even put the option out there.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, she's said the same thing to Kinderman. She said the
Mm-hmm.
same
Mm-hmm.
thing to, you know, all sorts of people who have asked. Whoever
Mm-hmm.
she was talking on the phone in Daddy's room when
Yeah.
Damien came back, like whoever her last remaining friend is, that she would lie and say like, "Oh, I'm just so busy with work." Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like whoever it is, like Chuck or anybody, like she's
Right.
probably said the exact. Yeah, she has no idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Howard has called finally, right?
Oh, gee. Yeah.
And it's like no, and like she doesn't remember any of it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that be like in the ending here? We just get a phone call, right? So, Madam, there's a call for you, and then we hard cut to Paris. And it's a hotel, and just like you see, because obviously every Paris hotel in the movies has a view of the Eiffel Tower out the window, right?
That's right.
And just this like you know like like Hollywood, like he's Hollywood pretty, but he also just looks like a sleaze, right?
That's right.
And he's just like, honey. It's like, what did I miss?
Yeah, well, what's worse, that Howard calls after all this, or that Howard never calls after all this? I'm not sure
I
which.
don't know. I don't know what's worse, but if you ask me, like
Hmm.
what I like, if I were Chris and what I'd prefer,
Hmm.
it's just like
Yeah,
he just be gone.
yeah,
Just
he just never
yeah,
calls. Exactly.
yeah. Oh yeah, Howard.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so whatever feelings are going on here, Dyer does his best to hide it. He says,
Hmm.
"That's good," and then, speak of the devil,
Mm.
Reagan comes out I'm actually very proud of that. Actually, so good. But yeah, Reagan comes out to join her mother by the car.
Mhm.
But actually, no, there's no devil here, not anymore. It
Mhm.
is honest to God Rags.
Yay.
Honest to God, Reagan Teresa MacNeil.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the way we know this, I don't know why this works,
Mhm.
but the way we absolutely know it's her is her face.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, obviously, but I also mean just like Mom, she doesn't look like the young, fresh-faced cherub that we saw at the beginning of the movie.
Mhm.
I I don't know why, but I feel like you'd almost be suspicious of that if that
Mhm.
were the case, right?
Right.
Like, if she looked exactly like she did in the beginning, we'd be like, "Wait a minute." Like, nobody comes out of this like that unscathed, right?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but no, instead, like Mom, she looks like she has aged. She
Yeah.
looks older, more mature. This isn't head spinning, vomit spewing Reagan,
Mhm.
but it's also not cookie stealing, dumbbird making Reagan.
Right.
Right? And to drive it home, she's dressed in a mini version of what Mom's wearing.
Mhm.
And as she gets closer, we see that she's even got matching bruises.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, it sounds weird, but it's the bruises that tell me she's all right now.
Mhm.
The complete opposite of how we reacted to seeing the bruise on Chris's eye. That reveal
Mhm.
told us things were getting worse.
Yeah.
You remember that when she was wearing the dark glasses and then she takes
Mhm.
them off in front, Father Garris is my little girl, and you
Yeah.
see that bruise. He's like, oh my
Like, oh,
God,
jeez.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But here, like, we can see that things are getting better.
Yeah, they're healing, yeah. And there's something just about her gait as well. Like
Mm.
she's walking like she's been through some real shit,
Oh, yeah.
And she is, yeah, I like what you talk about with her costume. Like it's a little girl's coat because it's got
Mm-hmm.
these bright colors, but
Right.
besides that, it matches everything that like the cap that she's wearing and
Right.
the kind of the dark base layer of the coat, right? Like
Mm.
they both look a lot older. It's another reason why it's good that the movie pushes it back from ending on Mother's Day to ending in winter. I just
Mhm.
like these looks, right, that the three of them have, Dyer and
Yeah.
Reagan and Chris. It just feels right for this ending, right? That like, yes, we have won, but we're not like going into pastels for spring or something.
Right. It's bleak.
Mm-hmm.
It's the time for bundling up and kind of, drinking something warm to heal.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
protecting ourselves from the outside because we're very, very vulnerable now.
Mm-hmm. Right. We still feel vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. So Reagan says, all done to Mom. And Chris says, okay. And she quickly puts an arm around her and indicates Father Dyer. And she says, honey, this is Father Dyer.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, just look at how Reagan regards Dyer here with this mature, discerning eye. She politely says, hi, Father. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's very formal. It's very, hello, friend of my mother's. It's
Right.
nice to meet you. Right? Like that's what it is. Meanwhile, if you look at Chris's face, look at how she's looking at Dyer. You can
Mhm.
see this silent plea or maybe even like a warning to
Mhm.
Dyer to not say anything.
Mhm.
And Dyer doesn't. He simply says, hello. After which you see Chris relax a little. She smiles and she looks at Reagan and then back at Dyer, just in case he's still thinking of saying something.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, just introducing her to the priest. I mean, I would be afraid of triggering
right.
the daughter, right? Just like, hey, look who's here. It's and who? Oh, how do you know my mother, Father Dyer? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awful. Yeah,
Yeah.
like so, I would be concerned about anything that would trigger my
It's like,
daughter at
oh,
this point. Yeah.
I went to your mom's party and I played the piano. Oh, I seem to remember something about a party. And it's like, nope, nope, nope. We gotta go. We gotta
No,
go.
no, 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 no. Right, you can't feed your kid astronaut ice cream anymore. You
No,
can't.
no more, no more. Toity and toyed on the piano.
It's Snoopy. Forget about
Yeah.
it. No
No.
more
Anytime
Snoopy.
you see Snoopy, hi. Sheesh. Yeah.
Mhm.
No. You're absolutely right, Keenan. I bet she was like hoping to get out of there
Yeah.
before. Right. Like she was probably like she sees Dyer.
Hmm.
He walks up to the car and she starts like she doesn't remember any of it, and in
Right.
her head she's like, oh, Reagan, please stay in the house right now,
Yeah.
please don't go outside right now, like,
Absolutely.
yeah. And then she comes out and she's like, oh, okay, now I gotta introduce
Hmm.
her to Dyer, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, so we cut just as
Mm-hmm.
Carl has finished loading the trunk, and
Mm-hmm.
he says, "Alrighty, Mrs." In the background, we see Willie coming out of the door and closing it behind her, and it's such a quick shot of Willie, but it stood out to me because she's smiling.
Mm.
I think this might be the only time in the whole movie that she has smiled.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like we normally do the impression of her, and she's a scared little mouse, and
Yeah,
like I don't know if the store's already, Missus. I don't know if they're
yeah.
open right now. Yeah.
I don't know, like maybe it's seeing Carl close that big heavy trunk, right? And she's like, "Oh, my husband is so strong and aggressive with that trunk."
Oh yes, he gets me love drunk on his humps.
It's the way he packs all that junk inside the trunk.
Oh, my husband's so big and strong, he could easily snap a film director's neck and make its head go all the way
Yes.
around.
That is when they are and I want to be respectful here, but
All right,
because
be respectful.
yeah, we love these characters,
Hmm.
but when Carl and Willie are getting tender with each other,
Uh-huh.
right? Willie says to him, "Carl, did you really kill that man?" And he says, "No." And she pulls him close and says, "Tell me that you did." When tell me how you
Oh,
did it.
right, Willie.
Whew.
Whew. Oh, jeez.
Getting the vapors, huh?
Oh yeah, she knew what she wanted.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Let us go. And her voice just kind of like drops an octave. It's like,
Mhm.
"Let us go into the chamber."
Right. Go into this chamber with me and turn it into Daddy's room.
There's yeah. There's Daddy's room,
Hmm.
but then there's Papa's chamber.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, Willie,
Yeah.
you waited until this minute.
Hey, that's the face she only shows her husband. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
She's trying to keep it from us, but we caught her at
Mm-hmm.
the very last.
Right, right.
Just giving him that eye. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, aw. Um, okay, yeah, but yeah, we cut back to Chris, and she turns back to Dyer and extends her hand, still hold what?
She turns back to Dyer because she's been just intuiting this entire conversation about that Willie and Carl having with each other. She's just like, ew, this is very intimate. They really want to get the murder house alone to themselves.
Oh my God.
For some reason.
I'm surrounded by all these feelings. This is that.
That's somebody, we're not trying. That's
Yeah.
somebody's fetish, I'm sure, is
Oh,
to
of
make
course.
love to their partner at the murder house.
Oh yeah. Trying to think of something funny, but but yeah. Okay, so we cut back to Chris.
She recoils from accidentally finally understanding her servants.
Right. Yeah. She doesn't want to be close to any of them.
That's right.
She gets out of that hug with Sharon. Right. But yeah, so turns back to Dyer and extends her hand, still holding her stole closed with the other hand. It's
Right.
very, very closed off. gesture.
Mhm.
So I like this. It's a combination of a friendly gesture,
Yeah.
but she's still like closing herself off.
Right.
Um, and she says, "Goodbye, Father." To which he answers, "Goodbye." But the way she says her goodbye and the way she now says, "I'll call you,"
Mhm.
I don't know. To me, it does feel like there is some heart in there. There
Mhm.
is a connection. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think she means it. Yeah, yeah, I think she is being genuine. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But I don't think she's really ready to make that call. I think she would like
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'll like maybe the subtext. I'll call you eventually.
Yeah.
Like when I'm better, right?
Right.
But it's definitely not like a lot. It's not like like a real LA person would do.
I'll have my people call your people.
Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll have my people. What, the atheists call the Jesuits? Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like I think there is a connection here.
Yeah.
It's just it's too painful
Mhm.
yet.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Um, but speaking of connections,
Mhm.
if instead of Chris, you're looking at Reagan during this exchange,
Mhm.
you notice that she has noticed something about Dyer. You can actually see her notice it in the previous shot, right before we cut away to Carl. Her eyes flick down and she spots it. So when we cut back to them and, they're saying their goodbyes, she's been
Mhm.
looking at it. And it's a really interesting expression she's
Mhm.
given us. You can see her trying to recall something.
Mhm.
And then our last shot of this minute shows us what she's looking at. It is a close up of Father Dyer's round Roman collar.
Mhm.
We'll have to wait and see how she reacts to that in the next minute. And if you've never seen this movie, I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. Like if you stopped right here, do you think there's like a danger of her seeing the collar and just going, you know,
Yeah, maybe.
you know? Like if
Right.
we did, like if you were like really listening along with us and we stopped right here, right?
Mhm.
Like it's like, oh my God, she sees the collar. It's gonna be a total relapse, or
That's how Nightmare on Elm Street would end. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Or Thriller.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
'Cause she would still be bezoozed at the end of Thriller. She'd look
mm-hmm.
directly in the camera.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, not subtle at all. Just
No.
um, but no, we'll have to wait and see how she reacts in the next minute. For now, that is all of my notes. Keenan, is there anything else?
No, I think we got it.
All right, folks, and just a quick little announcement. We're coming up on the end, and we have chosen a minute in the credits, which is also going to be a special mailbag episode where we read your emails to the exorcistminute at gmail.com. Or you can message our Facebook page, just called The Exorcist Minute. Or if you're already a member of our listener group, Compelling Conversations, and you want to leave us a message there, I've created a post specifically for this episode, and you can leave us a message there. And yeah, we'd love to hear your experiences with this film, how you got introduced to it. Were you like me? Were you way too young? What are your favorite scenes? Who are your favorite characters? Are you team book or team movie or both?
Mhm.
Are you team TV show? We're going to talk about that in upcoming minutes. Do you have any spooky paranormal stories that have happened to you in relation to the movie or otherwise?
And we'd love to keep hearing from you even after we're done recording our show. But if you would like Lester and I to respond to your stories and your questions and outstanding ideas about the film, we will need to hear from you by this weekend, which will be Saturday, May 25th. 2024. So we'd love to keep having that conversation with you, but if you want us to be on the show with you, we'll need it by this weekend.
Yeah, so by the end of the day, May 25th, 2024, folks. And yeah, specify if you want us to use your name or part of your name or just listener, and we'll respect that. Yeah.
We respect you, listeners. We love
Yeah.
you.
We respect you. We love you. We thank you. All right, folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz. You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, we got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media, and a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate that. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. Okay, Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time.
The power of Africa compels you. Gonna take me a lot to drag me away from you.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing that 8,800 doctors or more could ever do. We bless your streams down in Africa.
Yeah.
Gonna take some episodes to do the things we never had. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah. I stopped an old Greek lady along the way, hoping to find some old forgotten words or ancient recipes. She turned to me as if to say, "Dimmy, why you do this to me?"